Barks echoed throughout the shelter tails, wagging and hitting the bars as if begging for a chance. The smell of food straw and despair mixed together in the heavy air. At the end of the cage, where few people bothered to look, a skinny German shepherd sat silently. His ragged fur could not hide the old scars. His eyes were empty as if he had forgotten the feeling of hope. In front of the kennel hung a cracked wooden board with a cold scrawled word, "Not adoptable." No one stopped. Passers-by quickly turned away, not daring to look into those deep, sad eyes. To them, this dog was nothing more than a soulless shadow, a life that the world had long forgotten. Caleb, who had only intended to stop by the shelter, said he had no plans to adopt any animals. He walked slowly along the rows of cages where dozens of dogs were barking, hoping for attention. Puppies were jumping up and down, wagging their tails, their eyes shining with hope. Caleb smiled slightly but didn't stop. As he neared the end of the row, he stopped. In the oldest, darkest cage, a skinny German shepherd sat silently, head bowed, as if he had given up all hope. No barks, no pleading eyes, just a heartbreaking emptiness. Then the dog looked up. His eyes sad and tired, but with a faint light met Caleb's. Time seemed to slow down in that moment. No one spoke, but Caleb sensed something clearly, a silent cry for help. He stood still, his heart suddenly heavy. In those eyes, Caleb saw hurt, and a chance to change everything. A shelter staff member stepped up to Caleb, his voice soft, but filled with concern. "You really want him, Hunter? He never had a name, that's what we called him. He was neglected for years, abused, and was so scared that he wouldn't eat when people were around. He even growled and bit his cage out of fear. We were afraid he would never be a normal dog again." Caleb listened quietly, his eyes still on Hunter, who sat huddled as if he couldn't believe anyone would actually want to touch his life. He took a deep breath, then smiled. "I don't need a perfect dog," Caleb said softly but firmly. "I just want to give him a chance. Maybe, like I needed a chance to start over." The camp staff looked at him surprised and moved. They handed Caleb a thick stack of papers full of warnings and commitments. Without hesitation, he signed every page. When the cage door opened, Hunter stood still, trembling, his eyes wary. Caleb didn't rush. He just sat down, holding out his hand patiently. After a few tense seconds, Hunter took a small step forward as if choosing to trust. In that moment, Caleb knew he had just made a decision that would change both of their lives. The first few days in the new home were difficult. Hunter stood almost motionless in a corner of the room, his eyes still filled with suspicion and fear. Food was placed in front of him, but he did not touch it. Every strange sound made Hunter jump, tremble, and retreat further. Caleb didn't force it. He spread a rug beside him, read a book, or simply told trivial stories of the day in a deep, gentle voice. Every night, he placed a bowl of water and a portion of food near him and waited silently. On the third day, when Caleb held out a few morsels of food, Hunter hesitated for a long moment. Then, for the first time, he bowed his head, trembling, but willing to eat from his palm. That moment made Caleb go still, a small but precious sign that the wall of suspicion was beginning to crack. From that day on, Hunter took small steps forward. Sometimes he lay closer. Sometimes he just held Caleb's gaze a little longer. But to Caleb, those were the real victories. Little by little, Hunter was learning to trust again. 3 months passed, and Hunter was a completely different dog. His once ragged fur was now shiny, and his sad eyes lit up whenever Caleb called his name. Every afternoon, they walked together on the tree-lined path, Hunter always beside them, his tail wagging in a newfound peace. But what seemed like an ordinary afternoon turned into a turning point. Caleb was laughing, throwing the ball for Hunter to chase, when he suddenly stopped, clutched his chest, and collapsed on the sidewalk. Hunter turned around, his eyes panicked. Without hesitation, he rushed out into the middle of the road, barking loudly, his urgent barks echoing throughout the street. Several cars braked their drivers, looking at the scene in confusion. A woman in a nurse's uniform just off duty immediately ran over. "His dog is alerting," she shouted, kneeling down to check Caleb's breathing and pulse. Realizing the danger, she quickly performed CPR and called an ambulance. Hunter stood close by, not taking his eyes off Caleb, his ears flattened but still barking in short bursts as if urging everyone to hurry. When the ambulance arrived, the nurse helped load Caleb onto the stretcher. Hunter tried to hop on, his eyes filled with worry. The paramedics allowed him to sit next to them, knowing that Hunter's presence was the greatest comfort to Caleb at the moment. That day, it was Hunter, the dog once considered hopeless, who saved the life of the person who gave him a chance to live. News of Hunter quickly spread throughout town, and then to the surrounding areas. Newspapers carried stories about the once abandoned dog who saved his owner's life, with pictures of Hunter standing next to Caleb, his eyes confident and gentle. Many people were moved to tears when they learned that Hunter, once labeled unadoptable, had become a true hero. A few weeks after Caleb recovered, he decided to take Hunter back to the rescue center, where it all began. But this time, Hunter was no longer the dog with his head down huddled in the corner of his cage. His fur was sleek, his gait majestic, and his eyes sparkled with confidence and calm. The shelter staff were stunned when they saw Hunter. Many were moved to tears when they realized that the dog they had once considered hopeless was now standing tall, wagging its tail, walking close to the person who had believed in him. Caleb bent down to caress Hunter, then looked up and said to everyone, "This is proof that given just one chance, any living being can change." That day, Hunter became a living symbol of faith, patience, and love, things that can revive even a heart that once seemed dead. Since becoming hero rescuers, Hunter and Caleb have been inseparable. Every week they visit local shelters to meet dogs waiting for homes. Hunter gently approaches the scared animals cowering in the corners of their cages, as if to say, "I was there too. Don't give up." Hunter's presence changed the way many people looked at him. They realized that behind those sad eyes was always a heart longing for love. Caleb often smiles and tells Hunter's story to people who are considering adopting him. Hunter was considered hopeless, but one chance turned him into a hero, he says. Hunter is now more than just a rescue dog. He's a living symbol of love, patience, and the power of second chances. The story of Caleb and Hunter reminds us that no one or thing is worthless just because of a broken past. Sometimes abandoned and forgotten lives just need a chance, a hand, willing to be patient and loving, to shine and change their fate. Love and trust not only saved Hunter, but also helped Caleb find a loyal friend, even saving his life in a dangerous moment. In life, we often judge others based on their appearance or past mistakes, but patience and kindness can create miracles. Believe that every life deserves a second chance, and sometimes our kindness becomes the thing that changes someone's world, and our own.